Good evening, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be joining from. Welcome to this webinar, which is about metrics and Scrum Master. So I will go through this very quickly. We have about 30 minutes today. We'll go through these couple of slides, but more than just slides, I think there's a lot that I will be sharing as part of my experience. And we will go through some of those interesting metrics that I have experienced as part of my journey. So welcome to Advanced Agility. A little bit about the organization. So this is the Safe Scrum Master course. The webinar, a little bit about explaining the metrics, driving productivity through the Agile metrics. Advanced Agility, Advanced Agility has been around for now a couple of years. It has been delivering training for nearly 4 years now, and it has grown from originally from UK, and as you can see, has now across different parts of the world. We have been delivering training in US, Canada, India, Europe, Australia. So we do training not only about scaled agile, which is what this particular course is for, but we also do other courses like leadership, and we do workshops around OKRs and visioning. We do a lot of work around growth mindsets, which are very key for an overall holistic agile transformation journey. So that's a little bit about Advanced Agility. What this course will talk about is your role if you are already a safe Scrum Master, or you are aspiring to be a Scrum Master. Then this will help you understand how metrics, specifically the metrics that help you as a Scrum Master to better assess as a team how they are performing, and better assess as a program how it is performing, and therefore improving. So that's what we're going to talk about. I can see that few attendees are still joining, so hopefully there will be more coming in, but we will hopefully continue now because we only have 30 minutes. So Agile metrics. So we talk about metrics. There are so many different metrics, and this is something that I get very confused sometimes as to, should I use this type of metrics or should I use the other one? And again, within a safe environment, if you have some experience of safe, then depending upon whether you are at the team level or at the art level, that is at the program level, you will have different metrics to support you in what you want to assess. But irrespective of what you do and what you measure, metrics are important and very key tool that you can use as a Scrum Master. So these are some examples which talks about here is velocity, for example. You measure, and I think velocity is most commonly used metrics, especially when you're working within a team. That often becomes the de facto standard of looking at the velocity. However, it is sometimes misused, and there are organizations I have seen where they would look at the velocity of one team and try to compare with the velocity of the other team, and that's a complete no. That's not how it works. But we will not go into the details of how you are going to use these metrics. But important point is, measure the metrics, use the metrics to measure the performance and look at how you're progressing and how your team is progressing, but use it the right way. That's really important. Okay, so we talk about the velocity. We have cycle time, lead time. One thing that I keep getting asked is, what's the difference between cycle time and a lead time, right? And the cycle time is how long it takes a task to complete, while the lead time is more customer focused, right? It measures, let's say the customer requests for a particular feature, then from that point onwards till that feature is delivered, that's your lead time. That's the lead time for the customer, because that's when he or she requested, and then finally he or she received that particular feature. So that's the kind of difference that is there. But there are many more such metrics, and we'll go through some of them later on. But as part of the Safe Scrum Master course, you will learn about these metrics, how they are being utilized, especially when you come to Advanced Agility and when they do their training. You will find that you will hear a lot of real life case studies So it's not about just some theoretical understanding of these metrics and how to use it. You will find that the trainers, they are usually like 20 plus years of experience. They have done transformations themselves, and they will help you understand in practical terms how and where you can use this metrics and how you can use it correctly. As I was giving you an example, that the correct usage is very important. So that's about the metrics. The importance of it, I think I've been touching upon this, is you need to measure your team performance. When I go into an organization and I kind of ask about what's your current status, or where do you think you stand? The organizations don't have a clue. So we always start with a baseline assessment. We do some metric. We again have some metrics to assess where the organization is. We call it like business agility assessment. And we do that to understand where the organization is now. And as they go through the transformation journey, how are they progressing? So metrics are very important. You need to have them so that you know you are moving in the right direction, and it kind of constantly guides you. And then, and of course, the third point, which is the continuous improvement, and as you know, those who have been in the Agile world, continuous improvement is a core DNA of the Agile ways of working. We are constantly trying to improve. And how do you improve? You improve only when you assess something, then you compare, are you moving in the right direction? And then you get that feedback, and then you improve. So that's why these metrics are important in order for you to look at them, assess them, and then get the feedback to continuously improve. One thing that I wanted to talk about around the metrics overview is use the metrics only when they are needed. Sometimes in my experience, I'm an enterprise Agile coach for many years now. I've gone through many transformations. And one of the things that I sometimes see quite wrongly being used, or at least being requested, is let's measure to find out more about as something that why is that not working. Now, it is important to find out the root cause and fix it, no doubt about it, but using it as a stick to find out and pinpoint a particular person within a team or a particular team within a program, that's the wrong usage of the metrics. So I often mention to my leaders who are in this transformation journey that use the metrics to get the feedback and improve, rather than as a stick to find out how I can penalize somebody or some team because they are not performing. So I think that's important, and that's about the Agile metrics kind of overview that I wanted to share. So now let's go on. So here are some of the example metrics that we often use when I was a Scrum Master, or even as a coach when I am working with teams. These are the different types of metrics that we would be looking at. Not necessarily everything for everything. We will use them as appropriate, as I keep mentioning. We will, in the Safe Scrum Master course that we go through, it's a 2-day live instructor-led courses. In those courses, you will find that in that course, Advanced Agility walks you through what these metrics are, what are they used for, and we give you, as I was mentioning earlier, practical real-life case scenarios that you can use to understand how to implement in your project. So these are some of the example metrics here: the flow distribution, flow velocity, flow load. Interesting one is that I often use is the flow load. As you can see, it clearly shows a gap as you are going from left to right. You can see right at the end, it shows flow load. What it's trying to show here is the amount of work being done and the amount of work being accumulated within the funnel. You can see such a huge gap. And that huge gap is because of the fact that over a period of time, not enough work is getting done. And that's important metrics for us to look at and fix, because obviously we are not able to complete. If you look at the implementing stage, you can see the implementing phase is quite small and the funnel is constantly increasing. So that gap is constantly increasing, which is not great. Then flow velocity, I think that's, as I was explaining, that's very common. You look at the flow velocity, every iteration you go and you can see, you should start seeing a pattern. Of course, when people are on holidays or there are other aspects of it, then you might have a little bit of variation. But as you start, your velocity will gradually increase, and then it will reach to a stage where it becomes a bit more optimal. And then you have a more or less bobbing velocity as it is being shown here on the graph. So those are some. There are a few more that I'm going to share. So you have flow time, flow efficiency. I'm just making sure that, okay. We have flow time, flow efficiency, and flow predictability. Again, one of the things that we talk about when as a Scrum Master, when we're going through our iteration. So as we're going through the iteration, there are a lot of things that sometimes you need to measure in a particular iteration. You do not have to necessarily measure in the other iteration. But however, my advice is that if there is a metric that you decide, you can't look at a single iteration and then decide whether that's good or bad, right? And in fact, there is nothing like good or bad. You have to look at the flow across multiple iterations, and that's where you gain enough data to understand what is happening. So that's why and appropriately, it is now called the flow, because you're not measuring just for one particular iteration, you're measuring over a period of time, right? So that's the flow time. And the flow efficiency, again, we would love to see when the request comes in and when the customer gets the value in between, what's the total active time plus the total wait time. That's your flow time. But in between, as you can see, the active time when actually some work is being done is smaller than the overall total time. And this is very, very important. And these are one of the early, I would say, low-hanging fruits that you as a Scrum Master, if, excuse me, if you are looking for fixing some of the low-hanging fruits, this is a great matrix that you can use that will really help you to identify why there are wait times. So you can see in this diagram, for example, towards the end, there's a long wait time. And those wait times are waste. So we have to look at why that is the case. So as an example, I was working with an insurance organization almost 4 or 5 years ago. And the customer was requesting for a home insurance quotation. From the time that the request came in, and the time by when they received an email, that was nearly, I think, 4 days approximately. And the reason was of course, there was a challenge with the systems that are being used, but a lot of waste was there because of no activity happening. There is one department passing on that request to the second department, and there was a waste there, and when it was not automated at that time. And that was a quick win for us, because when we started looking at the flow efficiency, it showed it was poor because there was a lot of wait time. So we immediately started looking at those wait times, what's really happening, how we can remove them, and then we started reducing them. It's not always true that you can reduce all the wait time. There will be cases when you need to have the wait time, especially within a very highly compliance kind of industry. You will find that there are some inevitable manual checks that are needed that you can't bypass. You can automate it to some extent, and there will be some certain things like that and certain scenarios like that, but that's okay. But mostly you should be able to reduce the waste, and that's where these kind of flow efficiencies are very important. Then comes the flow predictability. I do not know how many of you that are here today attending have the experience of running a PI or being part of a PI like product increment, or it's a cadence. Think of if you are a Scrum Master, then you have this, for example, 2-week iterations, right? That's your cadence. Similarly, you have the program increment or the product increment, which is your a bigger cadence for the overall program. And what this flow predictability helps you is to understand how your program is behaving across the program increments. And this is very important, because while as a Scrum Master, we are very focused on looking at the 2-week cycles, right? but it's not always just focusing there. There might be bigger problems across the whole program. You might be working as part of another 7, 8 different teams, and they're all coming together to create this art and running this end-to-end program. So you need to know the health of your program. This is where when you come in and attend this Safe Scrum Master course, we talk about PI planning. That's the heart of the of Safe framework. So we talk about PI planning. We talk about what happens there. We talk about how you can use these metrics to improve your flow. And as a Scrum Master, then you have an important role to play even within the bigger picture. So that's a huge difference between being a Scrum Master for a team and being a Scrum Master for a team that fits within a larger art, a larger program. Okay, so I would definitely suggest that if you are a Scrum Master and you haven't had this training and you are working within an organization where you have to work with multiple teams and you have a large art or program within which you fit in, then you definitely should attend this. And as part of this, you will be learning all these metrics and how to use them. So that's about some of those example metrics. I won't go anything further in this on these ones. So let's see, what do we have next? So I think I kind of touched upon some of these points, but I will quickly go through this because one of the confusion about the metrics, I mean, you can read this on what is there on my screen, but important takeaway is metrics are not necessarily just about the developers and their code and how they're completing their code, or the QA and their code and all the unit testing that they do. It's not about just metrics on the development phase. When you think about, I mean, Safe, what are values and principles of Safe and also of Agile, it talks about focusing on delivering value. And when you deliver value when you get the product or a feature that you're looking for, when your customer gets that. So you have to have the systems thinking, right? And as part of that, it becomes very important that you look at metrics which are not just about your development cycle. You have to look at the end-to-end metrics, which introduces metrics for other supporting teams. Your marketing team will need some metrics. Your customer, obviously, we talked about something called lead time as an example. And the lead time is when the customer requested for a particular feature and when the customer finally receives the value. So that's the lead time. Those are metrics that are also important to be looked at, because optimizing just the development phase is not good enough. You have to optimize the end-to-end flow, and that will help you improve the efficiency. I keep talking about to wherever I go and train or coach, I keep talking about, do not forget that whatever you're doing it to deliver something valuable to your customer. So remember who your customer is, remember whether it is delivering value, and then you can think about everything else around it. So when you're looking at metrics as Scrum Masters, if you're looking at metrics, keep that focus, guide your senior leadership around those important principles, and then choose your metrics. So identify bottlenecks, enhance your productivity, and implement them effectively. So that's around leveraging the metrics. I think that's what we wanted to cover today, to give you an understanding and flair of some of the things that are very, very key and important to be covered, which is often ignored. And often we only stick with only one metrics, maybe a velocity chart, or that's it. And we will probably not look at everything else. But there are a lot of other key important metrics that you should be able to use. So if you want to learn about all of this, please do sign up. There is the link at the bottom. There is a coupon code there. If you want to sign up now, then you can get that discount as well. So think about this, and whatever you do next, go and learn about metrics, go and learn about how to utilize them and use them appropriately. And just don't use it for your own teams, use it across all the layers within if you're implementing Safe, or whether you are implementing other frameworks. Implement the metrics at the team level, at the program level, at the portfolio level, and measure them, get a feedback, and improve them. So that's what you need to do. So some of the best practice and a conclusion I've already kind of touched upon is actionable insights. Make sure that there are You are collecting data, not for the sake of collecting data. We are collecting data where you can take some action. And as I've highlighted, avoid metric overload. Select few, but the right one that you need at the right level. So I will pause here, and I will try to take some questions. Let me see whether we have any. What's the time now? Okay, we have a little bit of time, so I'll have. Okay, so one question is around efficiency. So if I go back to the flow efficiency here. Right, so yes, so flow efficiency, as I kind of was highlighting to you earlier, so the flow efficiency, it's a ratio of the total time being spent in the value-added work divided by the total flow time. That's how you calculate the flow efficiency. I don't want to go into the details of that because there are other aspects that you will learn as part of your course. But in general, it's a ratio that you calculate as part of the active time over the total flow time. What else do we have? Please do sign up. Please do follow our page as well on Advanced Agility, because we do have many of these webinars that continue to happen. And I'm sure there will be topics that you might be interested in. So please follow the page so that you are always aware of it. Also, you can reach out to us. You can reach out to me and reach out to us for any specific questions or any specific points that you want to understand. If you like this webinar, please do share that as well. And hope you have kind of understood why the importance of metrics is. I have always loved using metrics. I know it has been misused, so be very careful about how you're using it. But yeah, that's what I wanted to cover. So thank you. Thanks for joining. And we will close the session until I see any other question. I see one question, so I'll quickly take that about the flow time. That's the time elapsed from start to completion for a given item. So a lot of these things, if you do not know, I'm sure you know it. If you go to the Scaled Agile website, you can find a lot of this information about the metrics and how they are being utilized. There are examples there as well. So you go to the website and look for metrics. I think it says it's called Measure and Grow. So if you go there, you will get a lot of information about these about the metrics and how to use them and where to use them. So hopefully you will find that useful. So thank you for joining, guys. And we look forward to welcoming you for our training if you decide to join. Thank you. I'll close the session now.